quarter ServDC Commissioners meeting. Today is October 9th, 2018, and we are located in the Reeves Center here at 2000 14th Street Northwest, Suite 101, area code 2009. I'd like to advise you that this meeting is actually being recorded for documentation purposes and posting to our website. Again, the time is now 6:35, but I'd like to begin. First, I'd like to start off with a roll call by Sarita Spriggs, our Deputy Director here at ServDC.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with the roll call. Barbara Klein.
Here.
Andrews. Carolina Selnick. Sharice Williams is present. Shantae Mickens. Edward Jones. Gail Oliver.
Present.
Thank you. Kathleen Kernick. Present. Thank you. Johnny Rice. Joshua Johnson. Lars Etz.
Present.
Was that
Lars Etzkorn's present.
Lewis Henderson? Najma Ahmad? Nathaniel Thomas? Peter Seko? Raymond Whedon?
Present.
Thank you. Rochelle Howard?
Present.
Thank you. Saran White?
Present.
Thank you. Louis Davis?
Present.
Thank you. Antoinette Mitchell?
Present.
Thank you. LeVar Jones? Lauren Waldron? Nate
Present.
Thank you.
Trefason.
Trefason, thank you. And
Thank you.
Jessica Hunt.
Present.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11.
Okay.
So we're good.
All right, thank you so much, Sarita. Again, good evening, everyone. This is Delano Hunter, and again, I'd like to welcome you to our third quarter ServDC Commission meeting. I just have a couple of brief updates. We have an ambitious agenda, so I'll certainly be brief. I wanted to welcome our two newest commissioners, and that is Shantae Mickens and also Kathleen Kernick. I'm not sure if we have Shantae on the line, but certainly I'd like to give Kathleen an opportunity just to introduce herself to her fellow commissioners and just share in a few sentences. Sarah, it's just whatever you'd like to share with the commission.
Sure. Thank you. I'm very excited and honored to be a part of the commission. I am from Pennsylvania, but I've been in the DC area since college. Went to Catholic University, which is now where I currently work. So I live in Brookland, and have spent almost now half of my life in DC. So very happy to be contributing in a larger way.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Certainly excited to have you. There was a swearing-in ceremony for new appointees and also a few reappointments as well back on, I believe it was Tuesday, September 17th. So certainly I'd like to thank all of the commissioners that had an opportunity to come out. How about you, Shantae? Are you on the line by chance? Okay. All right. I don't believe not yet. All right. So now we're going to head directly into our ServDC branding refresh. And just to give you a sense of how this meeting will be organized, you all that are viewing via GoToMeeting, all of the content has been loaded into an actual PowerPoint, and you'll be able to actually follow along with the screen share. If for some reason you don't have access to a PowerPoint, I would be more than happy to actually forward you these documents and the presentations once the meeting is concluded. And what we want to do today is simply just provide an update of some of the progress that has been made in FY18. For many of you all that are familiar with the fiscal year calendar, October 1st marked the beginning of FY19, and I'm really proud of the team and their growth this past year. I think, as you'll see with a lot of our the overview of the programs, you'll be able to see some of the progress if you've been with us for a while. And also, for some of you all, we want you to reacquaint yourself with our programs, because I certainly feel that the benefit of having such a robust commission is that you can not only provide advisement, which you all do, thank you, but also you can help to amplify the work that we are doing and help us to form new partnerships. So with that being said, without further ado, first I wanted to start with Antoine Battle, our communications director, and he has just an overview of our ServDC branding. We have undertaken some steps to kind of refresh the brand a bit. This is just phase one, and he'll provide an overview of just some of the updates that we've been able to provide. All right, 1 second, let me just load up this presentation. All right, take it away.
Thank you, everyone. This is Antoine Battle. I'll be providing a quick ServDC marketing overview covering 3 topics. First topic we're going to cover is brand refresh. Second topic we're going to cover is our social media. The third topic we're going to cover is our press. So, okay. Sorry, we're having some technical fun right here. Okay. So, in terms of our branding refresh, I'll be talking about some of our new physical assets as well as our digital assets in terms of branding refresh. So we have new generic and programmatic outreach materials for those who are in attendance with the ServDC general overview brochures, or take one of those. And there's a slide we'll be referring to. Yeah, there's a slide that we'll be referring to soon with the ServDC general brochure. We also have a new emergency preparedness brochure. And in terms of national service, we have an AmeriCorps infographic that you can take around, pass around and see as well. And for those of you all who are on the conference call, you'll be able to see the ServDC brochure, the emergency preparedness brochure, the AmeriCorps infographic, and the forthcoming slide. I also like to elaborate on our branding refresh as it pertains to digital, serv.dc.gov. We get an entire update of the website. We now have our newsletter under partner opportunities. So those people, organizations that contact ServDC about upcoming volunteer opportunities, we post it directly to the website. We also have an overlay on serv.dc.gov, which is capturing a lot of email addresses. So we're able to aggregate the amount of email addresses. And Eventbrite has been serving as a great repository for volunteer opportunities. It's free. We no longer use volunteer.dc.gov. And, Isha also Lee has been doing a fantastic job populating the Eventbrite. And Constant Contact is doing this job in terms of email marketing. So we like to transition to the next few slides. So you're about to see, ServDC general brochure. So first we're, highlighting national service, using that AmeriCorps tagline, getting things done. We're also, highlighting emergency preparedness, using Mayor Bowser's catchphrase, creating a safer, stronger DC. We're also highlighting our seasons of service needs, connecting communities through service. Okay, next slide.
Antoine, can you speak to how this is the inside of the brochure, but maybe describe aesthetically how the outside of the brochure looks like?
Yes, so aesthetically on the outside of the brochure, it's very diverse. We know that, most of our volunteers, as well as, a lot of some college campuses and high schools, people who are volunteering, they're actually women. So we want to appeal, to that audience. So we have women who are involved in service and volunteerism on the front of our brochures, great representatives for the District of Columbia. So we want to make sure that, we have a diverse Yes. Any questions? Okay. All right. Next slide. Okay. Next is our emergency preparedness brochure. We want to start off promoting the community emergency response team first, given that we have a responsibility for emergency support function 16. And then next we go into our emergency preparedness and safety essentials program. So this has a lot of program offerings that we provide: CPR, first aid, AED, active shooter response, the 72-hour emergency kit, stop the bleed, as well as disaster psychology. So what's new with this brochure? Previously, we only gave short descriptions about the programs, but now we're actually telling them which classes we actually provide. Previously, we didn't list the active shooter response, 72-hour emergency kit, stop the bleed, and disaster psychology. We're also promoting the DC Volunteer Snow Team, snow program in the brochure. And we're also promoting Commander Ready in our Summer Youth Emergency Preparedness Academy, SYPA. Okay, next slide. Next is our AmeriCorps in DC infographic. We have a lot of fun facts. As you can see on the bottom of the infographic, it says that this infographic reflects data from 2016 through 2017. On the right side, we have the fun Did You Know? ServDC provides, it tells you the amount of money that we provide in grants as well as the amount of organizations. And then our fun fact that the District of Columbia ranked on the list of top 10 merit states, ranking at number 2. And the merit states are the states that produce the most AmeriCorps members. Even though we were number 1 last year, but that's another story. We're still in the top 5. Jason, next slide. Okay, and this is an example of the serv.dc.gov overlay. You'll see, it says stay connected, sign up here to get the latest news and updates from ServDC. So it's really quick, it's really simple. You just type in your email address, and we capture this information through Gov Delivery, and then we download and export the spreadsheet, and then import the spreadsheet into Constant Contact. So it's on autopilot. Okay. Yes.
I know behind the overlay, you'll notice that the website has been refreshed a bit. If you could describe what our thinking was in that website refresh and what it is now allowing us to do.
Okay. So we've reviewed several website models that we've seen throughout the district. I would say we're right now rectangle. Can you hear me? Rectangular banner on the front that if you go to the next slide, so we're not showcasing the overlay. Right. So this is currently the home page. So we have a rectangular banner that showcases that we're in the top 10 for merit states. And then when you go below that banner, you'll see we're promoting our CPR, AD, first aid trainings, as well as the community emergency response team. And you can see updated tweets. So this is designed to be something that's quick, simple, mobile friendly, easy for people to access. And also under volunteer opportunities, you have partner opportunities. So when you click on partner opportunities, that takes you directly to the ServDC newsletter. And also for ServDC opportunities, that'll take you directly to the Eventbrite. We've learned that we're able to cut costs, and it's much more effective to just post volunteer opportunities on Eventbrite and post our partner opportunities in the ServDC newsletter. So this has been highly effective. Okay. Next slide, we're going to talk about social media. I think we've been doing a really great job of social media. start out with the first bullet point, programs and partnership content. So, for example, with Isha is out a lot in the field doing outreach, creating partnerships, a lot of great events with like the Marcus Table, Joyful Food Market. So Isha's been posting directly to Instagram. We started out, I want to say we had less than 40 followers on Instagram. Now we're close to almost close to 2,000, and we're posting regularly to Instagram. And Isha has been a big part of creating that content. And also we've hired a new communications specialist, Denzel Aberhart, who's been instrumental in creating more social media content. So we have a lot of content focusing on our programs, emergency preparedness, national service, and volunteerism as a special as a best practice and a highlight. Wanted to highlight the My Brother's Keeper DC Volunteer Recruitment Fair. We've seen increased reach through influencer marketing online. We had a radio host, Joe Claire from WPGC 95.5. He posted and showcased and promoted the event to his audience. We also had appearances and videos from the fire chief, the chief of HSEMA, and several other people. So we can go to the next slide. We'll actually see an example. Right, so that's a top tweet from Joe Claire, which earned Serve DC 10,200 impressions.
Video?
Yes, that's it. That's a tweet, but you're seeing that's sort of like the still image of the video.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, that's the student. Yeah. But the important thing is that Joe Claire posted, and you see we earned 10,200 impressions. So next slide. I'll also talk about our recent press. So just this past weekend, Serve DC partnered up with Vita Fitness to host a volunteer social and expo at the Penthouse Pool Club. I believe it was on 1620 U Street, not mistaken. And yeah, we got a lot of press from that. I saw that we were featured in the Washingtonian, Thrillers, the Georgetowner, thehillisHome.com, Patch.com. And for the My Brother's Keeper DC Volunteer Recruitment Fair, we were featured on WUSA 9. Also, we had an advertisement appear in the Washington Express. So Serve DC is on the rise. Like they say, DC rising, Serve DC rising. So yeah, next slide, and we'll show you an example. So this was posted just a few days ago. This appeared in the Georgetowner. So you'll see, Serve DC mentioned with Vita Fitness. So, in some we've doing the branding refresh. We've been posting a lot of content, getting a lot of engagement on social media. And we've been getting a lot of press. So I think that Serve DC is rising, and look forward to big things throughout this quarter and the next quarter, especially in 2019.
Thank you. If I could just add, I want to open up the floor for any questions or comments, but if I could just discuss just a couple of facets. One of the things we wanted to do this fiscal year was to first just try to simplify. We had a lot of platforms, and the platforms were not necessarily effective, and also what we found is that there were more ways for us to spend our money and be just as effective. Like now, when we have an event like My Brother's Keeper Fair, let's say the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, like what we know, we've been able to be a lot smarter and really analyze where our signups are coming from. And our number one source for signups is actually our Serve DC mailing list. So we said, hey, let's focus on really growing that list. We're engaging 15, 20,000 folks sometimes a year. But our list in Constant Contact, our email marketing list, didn't necessarily reflect that. So through the overlay, through using tools like Eventbrite, where you can manage and transport that data, we've been able to grow our list to now approaching 30,000. And keeping in mind, some of those users are not necessarily, well, of that 30,000, once we add a lot every month, but all of those users aren't necessarily new or unique. And then also, of course, folks update their preferences and sometimes opt out. But we know that that's our number one source for actually getting the word out, so we wanted to really focus on that. The next, actually, through our outreach, although we're still a relatively small office, we expand to about 25 in the summer with contracts, but contractors normally we're between 12 and 15, but we're still touching, again, over 20,000 folks. So we wanted to have literature that sort of reflected what our offerings are. Specifically, I'll speak to the emergency preparedness brochure. Our trainings are a lot different than what they were just a few years ago. That middle panel that you'll see, emergency preparedness and safety, that was, a lot of this was just a portion of CERT at one point that we were able to expand into a standalone training. And Dr. Mack is going to speak about the active shooter response training, which has now overtaken CPR as probably the number one most demanded training. And then our Summer Youth Emergency Preparedness Academy, which you'll hear a lot about, it's become one of the strongest programs that DOES offers with interagency partners. So we're really proud of the growth of a lot of our programs, and we just wanted to be able to reflect that in our literature. And last but not least, I think that the unsung hero really of the office really is the work that we do with AmeriCorps. At times, it's just when ServDC is more so a pass-through, and we're continuing to try to change that perception to really deepen our relationships with our sub-grantees, but also really, share the word, whether that's through our council testimony, whether that's through the work that we do in our other programs, to really try to say, hey, ServDC is a champion of national service, and certainly, we have a lot to be proud of, and we want to connect this to the mayor's vision. So these are just a few. Certainly, we were able to purchase probably 20,000 pieces of literature. So, we certainly will send you all digital copies of it. If you swing past our office, we'll be more than happy to give you some brochures. So the goal is you'll be equipped to help us to spread the word. So before we transition, if we have any questions or comments for Antoine, certainly now I want to open the floor.
Hi, this is Edward on the phone. Sorry I couldn't be with you, but can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering about the partnership with AARP Foundation and the summer of service for feeding seniors, because I was able to volunteer for that, and I was curious to know how many other folks from the network might have been there. It would seem like it was a really good way to, again, connect with a great program, connect with philanthropy, as well as really give back to the community. I just thought, seeing that ServDC was one of the sponsors or hosts for that, if that was of a benefit, or that's part of a new relationship that you'll keep building upon.
Right. Thank you for your question, sir. This is Antoine responding to you. Yes. So for the 2018 AARP Summer of Service to Seniors, also known as the Million Meal Pack Challenge, ServDC again served as the volunteer champion this year. We served as the volunteer champion last year. It's to my understanding that this event brought out over 6,000 volunteers throughout the region, and 1 million meals were packed for seniors during that day on the National Mall. So the partnership has been highly effective, and we've been contacted to partner again this year.
Great, thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Hi, this is Joshua on the phone as well. Sorry I couldn't be there this evening. I appreciate the presentation and thank you for sharing. I first wanted to just comment that I follow the Instagram and your Twitter and those types of things, and it's noticeable that there's been kind of an uptick in traffic. I was curious if there had been rebranding, and so it was nice to hear that information, because it was clear just from my feed that you all had been posting more, and I think higher quality content. That being said, I'm just curious kind of what types of analytics you're using alongside the social media content. I know you said the Twitter post had over 10,000 views and that type of thing, but I didn't know if you were posting during peak hours or using hashtags to target certain audiences depending on events or types of content that you're posting. So just curious a little bit more about targeted outreach.
With that type of question, it sounds like we need you on the marketing team.
I'd be happy to chat more.
Right.
We'd be happy to chat more with you.
Absolutely. So yes, we're doing everything that you mentioned. Definitely using the hashtags. Definitely trying to post at recommended times. We've been reading a lot of articles. We're posting the content via Hootsuite, and I just like to say we have an amazing team. Like I mentioned before, a lot of the content you've been seeing lately with Instagram. Isha has been out in the field capturing a lot of content. She's been doing a lot of live videos, and I mean the combination of Isha being out in the field as well as the communications team posting via Hootsuite and our EP team sending images and videos. I just think it makes for a wonderful collaboration. So in sum, we really appreciate your positive feedback and any recommendations or suggestions that you have. We welcome them.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing, and I'd be happy to chat more offline if you'd like to.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments? At this time, we're having some technical difficulties in-house. Okay, perfect. We're going to load up our Earth Conservation Corps video. Pamela, if you could just tell a little bit about Earth Conservation Corps, our relationship, and also introduce our guest presenters. One of our goals each quarterly meeting is to introduce the commission to at least one of our sub-grantees. Again, just to really give visibility to the amazing work our AmeriCorps sub-grantees are performing in our community. And I know we shouldn't have favorites, and I don't, but I gotta admit that Earth Conservation Corps, because of their mission of environmental stewardship and conservation, and with the population that they teach it to, it's just one of my favorite programs. So without further ado, Pamela, if you can tell us a bit about ECC and also cue up our presenter.
Sure. So the Earth Conservation Corps was a grantee of ServDC's long before I actually got to serve DC. They took about a 2 or 3 year hiatus and then reapplied about 3 years ago and were awarded funds. And they actually applied at the time for, I want to say, about 4 full-time members, and then over the years decided to change those members to half-time members, and recently have applied for this last grant that they applied for. They applied for 8 quarter-time members because they've changed their model, and they have a really unique way of looking at their model, especially with the target population they work with, as more of a job and workforce development model. And I will certainly let Tommy explain that a little bit more. I'm not going to give away the ending of the story. But part of the reason why I asked Earth Conservation Corps to come here is because Tommy is the managing director, and he is relatively new to Earth Conservation Corps. When did you get there, Tommy?
Officially started about 1.5 years ago.
As managing director?
No, as a volunteer.
And when did you become managing director? That was my question.
Yeah, so I became managing director in, I guess that was May.
Okay, so fairly new. And one of the things that when there's a turnover in staff, as the program officer, it's my responsibility to make sure that new staff in any specialty is really up to speed on the AmeriCorps requirements because they're so numerous. And upon my first meeting Tommy and his new staff, I was really impressed with the energy and the direction of the Earth Conservation Corps, and I wanted him to come to this meeting and share it with all of you guys.
Yeah, and thank you all for having me. So again, I'm Tommy Lawrence, Managing Director at the Earth Conservation Corps. So far, we started, as Pamela mentioned, our first 4 quarter-time members this past September, September 2nd. We started the 4 of them. And so they are really my first foray into AmeriCorps, but also kind of this new leaf and this new chapter in Earth Conservation Corps, and moving forward, how we are looking at doing environmental education and environmental stewardship within the District of Columbia. So this is our new fall 2018 cohort. They are not the traditional Earth Conservation Corps cohort for the most part. As such, three of them are in between going from, they're going into college come January, which is where this new quarter time model really presents itself well for us, as it kind of opens up our audience to this new type of AmeriCorps member. We have Emma there driving the boat, John in the back, Jason in the middle, and then Shalia up front. John and Shalia are both from Southeast DC, and then Jason is actually from Boston, and Emma, and he's doing a semester here in DC, and then Emma is from DC as well, but from the southwest side of DC. But yeah, so here they are driving our boat for the first time, getting a feel for it. So what I'm going to do is go over pretty much what we've done with them for this first month of September, because we have some results to share with everyone. Unfortunately, we tried to do a September 11th day of service, but we got rained out. We were hoping to do a big event. We had about 50 people scheduled to come out to our Monique Johnson Anacostia River Center down in front of National Stadium to do a big event with the Capital Guardian Youth Challenge Academy, but because it started raining, Capital Guardian could not make it, and so we decided to take the event to them, and we took Mr. Hoots, our Eurasian Eagle Owl, out there to them, who the Corps have been working very hard with. And then on the far right there, or left, is LaShante Moore, who is one of our AmeriCorps alumni. Earth Conservation Corps has been around DC since 1992, and so we have many alumni and a huge alumni network. LaShante is actually now working with the Corps network, and so she came with us for the day and went with us out to Capital Guardian and met with our Corps. One of the interesting things about our Corps is that all four of them have some sort of environmental interest, but they don't really know what they want to do yet within the environmental field. And so that's really why they joined Earth Conservation Corps and AmeriCorps, is because they are getting ready to go to college, and they really don't know what they want to do as far as the environmental. They know they want to do something environmental, and so we're very much that training for them and giving them that experience and seeing what they really want to do. So yeah, so our September by the numbers so far. So far in September, we've actually educated 177 youth, and we've collected over 300 pounds of trash. That is being small. I believe we've actually collected a lot more. They just haven't finished weighing all of it because we just have it stacked up at the moment. This Corps, I've noticed, has been extremely powerful. As you can see there on the right-hand side is Shalia, actually down in Oxon Cove in Southeast DC, collecting what we call the Great Garbage DC Patch, or the Great DC Garbage Patch, collecting bottles out there. Then on the left-hand side, that is John, actually working with the CPC Pathfinders group from DC, and they are actually doing an entire day of fishing. We brought them out on a Friday and took them fishing on the Anacostia, where they actually built their own fishing rods and tested them out in the river. The entire curriculum was built by our AmeriCorps members. So they actually built the entire curriculum for the whole day, a good 6 hours worth of fishing, where our AmeriCorps members learned all about Anacostia River, its ecosystem, and everything about that. And then they were able to then translate that and present it for a group of about 60 youth. Additionally, we have planted over 200 wetland and meadow plants at the National Arboretum for a day of service with them. And we do weekly service projects with the 40 Capital Guardian youth at our Wings Over America site in Laurel, Maryland. So really, Earth Conservation Corps at the moment is looking at AmeriCorps as we're trying to make managers. We're trying to make people who can lead groups of people, and we're making team leaders. And so that's where we keep putting them in these team leader positions. So this first month of September has really been the training for them, and then they will be with us through December. And so with them only being here through December, we're very much trying to now put them in more of the team leader positions where they get to go out and they get to do a lot more of the leadership roles. And so that's where with Wings Over America, we work with the Capitol Guardian Youth, which is a National Guard program, where they come to our campus out there. We have about 5 acres on a farm that we have our raptors and horses and all that fun stuff at. And they are helping us restore it. But our AmeriCorps members are very much taking the lead on this program and are very much doing a lot of the hands-on work and leading the groups. Additionally, like I said before, with all the education components as well. And this is to get us to what are improved model for what we really want to do with the Earth Conservation Corps going forward, which is AmeriCorps members educating youth on environmental stewardship and green infrastructure through recurring service opportunities. The youth and volunteer join Earth Conservation Corps for continued environmental education, green infrastructure training to lay the foundation for green careers. So we're really trying to get youth more interested in green careers, not just AmeriCorps members. We really are trying to use the AmeriCorps members as the leaping off point for additional youth and volunteers to get more interested in green infrastructure within the district especially, so in that way they can look at it as more of a career. The population that we serve in Southeast DC and around Ward 6, 7, and 8, generally they are interested in college, but may not go to college. They also generally don't know what they're doing after high school. And so that's where we really want to step in while they're still in high school with our AmeriCorps members to show them, here's what you can do. You can come, join AmeriCorps, get green infrastructure training. Our AmeriCorps members also do infrastructure training with them, environmental education with them to get them interested, especially not in one-offs, in recurring multiple times. We get to go to schools multiple times, get them out to our facilities multiple times, and get them more involved in the environment. So just a quick heads up for October, what our AmeriCorps members will be doing. They're going to be definitely getting boating safety certified, for CPR and first aid certification through CertDC, hopefully. They began their wetland classroom development, so in front of the Monique Johnson Anacostia River Center. Actually, this morning, you can see that picture was taken this morning of them out there de-weeding the entire wetland area in preparation to start planting a lot more plants in the wetland and expanding the wetland area to create a classroom. So that way, when we're doing these green infrastructure trainings, we can actually walk the youth through a physical wetland in the district. They've also been participating in the DC Department of Energy and the Environment, grant writing workshops, the stormwater management writing workshops. That way they can learn how to grant write, because that was something that they actually expressed interest in doing. And so because they expressed interest in it, I'm like, all right, well, then you guys are gonna help write a grant for the next Corps that's gonna start this spring, hopefully for the wetland that they're gonna be working on. Additionally, we have actually a service day tomorrow with the field school. And then next week with City Kids Co-op, we just previously did a Casey Trees one, and we have a service day this Sunday planting trees in Syfax Gardens with Screaming Eagles. So our quarter-time Corps is working extremely hard and will be done hopefully very quickly. At the rate they're going, they're going to be done their hours, their AmeriCorps hours, a lot faster than we think. However, as of today, they are also all 4 DC River Smart Home Rain Garden Contractor certified. So all 4 of them, as of today, can go out after AmeriCorps and have a career with the District of Columbia and being a rain garden contractor and actually installing rain gardens in the district and getting paid to do it.
Nice.
And that is something that they can leave this with, but also now that they're certified, they can also start training additional youth. We can start bringing additional youth in through Earth Conservation Corps and having the AmeriCorps be the leaders and teaching them how to make additional rain gardens. And so that's the next phase of the plan. But yeah, so that is it. Here's 2-3 more months with this current AmeriCorps cohort, and then continuing with the 4 additional members that we will be starting this spring. That these 4 are definitely laying a foundation for.
Good job.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Tommy. That was really good. I hope that you all learned a bit. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to our commissioners for any questions.
This is Louis Davis. I had a quick question. I was interested in the model. I didn't hear this piece where you said that a lot of the students that you work with are not necessarily settled on the college bound. Do you have like statistics or a number on how many, once they complete the program, end up enrolling, or is that something you guys track at all?
That is something that we're currently working on tracking, as it's still, there's numbers out there, but they vary and they're not very up to date as far as what the actual percentage of people don't go to college from like Ward 6, 7, and 8, and how many, but it's something that we are actively tracking, how many people come to us. And so that's where right now we see ourselves as being limited by having only 8 part-time AmeriCorps members. And so that's where we're really looking at the idea of the AmeriCorps members being the team leaders to engage more youth, especially this rain garden contractor training that we did. That opens the door to actually hire additional people through Earth Conservation Corps that are being led by our AmeriCorps workers in training through rain gardens and everything, and actually being able to install rain gardens within the district. And hopefully future trainings would include rain barrels as well. So there'd be rain barrels and rain gardens in the district being installed.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Thanks.
This is Commissioner Oliver. I had one question about the AmeriCorps program.
Sure.
I was kind of familiar with the Earth Conservation Corps program some years gone by, where they had the GED component. Has that been abolished in the current stats for Earth Conservation Corps?
So the only requirements for the Earth Conservation Corps right now is that to be an AmeriCorps member is that you need a GED and or high school diploma and some interest in environment. What we noticed with the with the last round of applications is that most of them had a high school diploma. Actually, all of them had a high school diploma that applied. That's where we are working with groups like the Capital Guardian Youth Challenge Academy, which is run by the National Guard. And so they actually have 40 youth who are in high school receiving their GEDs. And by the end of their time at Capital Guardian, they will have their GEDs. The Conservation Corps does about 60% of their volunteer service hours. So we do about 60 volunteer service hours with them over 6 months. And with that, we hope that a lot of the Capital Guardian youth will come to us and apply to be in our AmeriCorps program as kind of a funnel.
Okay, thank you.
Tommy, if you could speak to your recruitment, how do you go about selecting the members or recruiting for those members?
This fall, this late summer when we were recruiting, it was very much, it was interesting as we were recruiting people for about 25 to 30 hours per week, so a part-time position, especially because they have to complete 450 hours. But the way we are doing it is September through December, and so that makes it more of a part-time position instead of quarter time, as it's condensed. And because of that, it very much attracted that college crowd of people who are taking that semester off. And we got a lot of applicants who are gearing up to go to college, and they're just looking for something to do to get them going before they go off to college. And so that sparked us a little bit. We went to the My Brother's Keeper volunteer fair, as well as a few other job fairs for recruitment. But the biggest issue that we had with recruitment this year is that we had people that said they were interested, but then they never answered their emails or phones or anything. So it was just, we were trying to gather, and we would email them a couple times, and we were just trying to gather some feedback from them as well, but we never heard back. So that's where actually the greatest resource was one of the largest resources was the AmeriCorps website. That's where we got most of our applicants through. But one of the other things though is that one of our current AmeriCorps members, John, is actually, he's been through Earth Conservation Corps in various components. He started off in the Youth Creating Change program, which was through the Metropolitan Police Academy. And so he actually was Youth Creating Change when he was a junior in high school. And then the summer of his junior year of high school, he was with us through what we called the Plastic Bottle Corps, where they actually was built a plastic bottle heron as an art piece. And so then he became a core member, now as an AmeriCorps member. And so we're looking for more of the Johns in a way too, that have that interest and who have come up kind of through a little bit of programming, and then we can put them now in this leadership position to then do this and now train the other youth that do that same thing.
This is Commissioner Jones. Another quick question. Knowing that there's a significant issue in the city regarding commercial and faith institutions that have land that they're being taxed for because of the lack of permeable land in their community or on their soil or on their property and their footprint. Has there been any thought about how some of these ideas like the rainwater and some other opportunities might serve as another, not only an income, but a skills building generator for certification to get folks employed, as well as to help some of these organizations that are looking for other ways to mitigate the tax situation by getting some other ways to be more environmentally conscious by using tools such as rainwater tools and such?
Yeah, that's actually very much what we're trying to start building, is the idea that our AmeriCorps members are going to be training youth our AmeriCorps members would get certified in that sort of training, that they would actually be able to train additional people who could go into a workforce scenario. Our AmeriCorps members also could go into a workforce scenario. Our ultimate goal for our core members, though, is that eventually they'll go into that workforce, but we really want to place them in that higher earning position as a manager or a director in the field or something larger. So we really try to push them to go into a college track first and do more of a business model with environmental underlay. So in that way, they can then come out of that with a degree and get a little bit higher paycheck, as well as be more knowledgeable. And then they can start their own business and hire from their pool of people that are coming through the Earth Conservation Corps. But that is definitely something we've been thinking about. In fact, our 5 acres out in Laurel at our Wings Over America campus, we looked at that as a place, as a training ground that we can start building up with examples of rain gardens and the rain barrels. And these different stormwater management solutions that the youth at Capital Guardian can start building tomorrow, and that our AmeriCorps members can help facilitate. So we can create this training ground almost where the youth can all participate together. And that would also be available for the credit system that DC offers for businesses, because it would be stormwater mitigation as well. So, and teaching the youth about that, because there is all the youth who come in through it, and they're asking like, well, what can green infrastructure give me? Because the top 3 careers are barber, chef, or a rapper from DC. It's like, that's the top 3 career paths that they say they want to go into. And we really try to push them more into green infrastructure and say, well, you can make $60,000 to $85,000 a year by maintaining green roofs, and every single building in DC within the next 20 years will have some sort of green roof, and all those need to be maintained. And if you're maintaining 50 green roofs, then that becomes your income for that entire year, right? So that's what we're really trying to push youth into, and our AmeriCorps members mainly being that driving force as the model, as well as the team leader to get them going.
All right, great.
Thank you for that. One quick other addition to that. I don't know if there's been conversation with UDC on this front, but I know they just established an entrepreneurship program for high school age as they're entering college, and it's something else that may be worth exploring that folks consider applying for. We may need to see what that may tie into with some of the other grantee opportunities, but the UDC program is the one that I just learned about last week that sounds really worth exploring and helping to get people connected to for that other element of entrepreneurship and development.
Yeah, it's something that I am aware of and I'm actually currently exploring.
All right. Thank you. Great, Tommy, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to transition to our 5th agenda item, and that is an overview of the active shooter response training. And for that, Dr. Willie McElroy, our CERT specialist, will actually lead this overview. I must say, when I first started this position in December of 2015, the demand was a lot different. We had a backlog of maybe 150 to 200 individuals that were requesting the CERT training. And that summer, when we started to, relaunch our first aid, CPR, and AED program, there was a backlog of a few hundred as well. So initially, when you thought of emergency preparedness, you really thought of CERT and you thought of CPR. That has drastically changed over the last 2.5 to 3 years. In light of Pulse nightclub, the shootings in Las Vegas, some of the higher profile active shooter response incidents, we actually developed an active shooter response training. This was once a subset of CERT, sorta, but not really. It was kind of alluded to in terrorism in the workplace, which is one of the units in CERT. And what we decided to do was to develop a full training. So Dr. Mack led the charge. He worked with FEMA. He worked with MPD, which does offer this training, but it's by the guys that are the SWAT officers. And of course, they just don't have the capacity. So fast forward to today, this fiscal year, we've trained well over 1,000 individuals in CERT. And I got to give Dr. Mack credit. He actually trained over 500 during the month of September alone. This includes the entire Department of Behavioral Health, also the person that I guess one of the campuses at St. Elizabeth Hospital. It was so popular, they actually wanted him to train the overnight shift, which is about a 12 or 1 a.m. training. So good luck with that, Doc. But I just, it just speaks to the explosive growth in the demand for this training. Even in the aftermath, 1 year ago, when we knew this was taking off, we said, hey, let's target this towards the faith-based community, and we have. But even after the incident at the publication in Annapolis, all of a sudden there was an uptick in calls from media publications. We have trained, a few have been rescheduled because of some of the national events. Breaking news just happened to pull some of the reporters away, but we have trained a number of publications, including international publications and active shooter response training. So I've asked Dr. Mack, as we call him, just to provide kind of like an overview of the training and speak to some of the components. And then what we want you all to do is we depend on referrals. So certainly, if you can find an organization, whether it's faith-based, a media publication, a nonprofit, a university, your school, certainly we want you to be an advocate for this training. So without further ado, Dr. Mack.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to be pretty brief because Delana finished the whole presentation. Okay, so yeah, we have had a spike within the last couple of months. We've gone from maybe training maybe 2 or 3 per month, right? Or every other month to 3 and 4 per week, sometimes 2 a day. So it's become quite popular with the current climate that we're in. So what you heard from a historical point of view is pretty much the way it is. What I'm going to do is take you through a few slides. I'm not going to linger on it because I know we're burning time. If there are any questions, please, you can either ask them at the end or you can email Mr. Hunter and we will address them. The purpose of our training is not to alarm people. First thing that people generally ask is that, are we going to be scared now to come back to church? And I tell them no, that's not the purpose. What we're simply doing is letting you know that you will have opportunities. And in any active shooter event, though they are all different, I don't care where it happens, they are all different. There will be definite opportunities there if you're willing to explore them. So we go through all of that, and the presentation is a combination of slides, videos, and discussion. And the main thing that we try to get over to the people that we train, whether it's private groups or schools or churches or whatever, is that they have to have an emergency action plan, because the time to figure out what to do isn't when the event is going on. So people need to know safe places to go to, safe routes out of the area. They need to know specific dialogue that you can use when the incident is going on. And of course, you need to be able to recognize any opportunities that present themselves. Okay, so this is a brief of the objectives. As you can see, the very last one is what we really focus on that because we feel like that can serve as a guide for your staff or for anybody who needs to have some information in place that they can rely on when they find themselves in an active situation. Okay, and we help the agencies or groups develop their plan if they request that. Okay, second slide. This kind of describes the active shooter environment, and we tell people that regardless of what kind of training that you have or what kind of exposure you've had, everyone is going to experience. If you look at the last couple of sentences there, they're going to be pushed to their really emotional and mental limits. And we've had discussions with military veterans, and they all describe the impact of being under a stressful situation. You freeze. And if you're not trained, you're definitely going to go through that. So we try to tell people, look, recognize that you're going to have that and push yourself to decisive action. Now, what that decisive action is going to be based on your training. Is it to get out? Is it to hide someplace? Or is it to defend yourself? Okay, and then we take them through some looks at various active shooter events. We use this one right here. This is the Sandy Hook shooting because this one really made the nation kind of take a pause and look at the severity of this situation. People begin to talk about behavioral health issues, gun access laws, discussions that we started then and we continue to have now, trying to get a handle on what causes this to happen and how we can protect ourselves from it. You can recall over here on the left column, the president was trying to do a press conference and he couldn't get through. He just broke down. Just a visual image of 20 young children, preschool age to third grade, shot multiple times. 6 staff members and the principal trying to shield the children, shot multiple times, and they all perished there at the scene. Then we show some of the individuals who are responsible for the deaths of some of these hundreds of people, and we try to give them an idea of when you look at these people, there's nothing really that stands out other than the fact that they may be making faces for the camera, but there's nothing that distinguishes them as being an active shooter, just a regular person you might pass on the street. So then we tell them that since we don't have that to rely on, what we have to go on are what is called pre-attack indicators. And the pre-attack indicators are those things that we might see in people or may not see in people that might be a signal that a person might be leading or developing into the type of person who might have these kinds of tendencies. So we go through a long discussion and we give some scenarios on how you might be totally aware of a person. You might have grown up with them, maybe think that you know that person begins to change and exhibits behaviors that might be a little outlier to what you are familiar with. And then we talk about how you may be able to identify some of those things. Okay, we tell them that once the person gets to this point, then we enter into a troubled area. Person begins to gain interest in things that say you and that individual might have never been interested in, okay? And then you might ask friends what they think about it, or say if you're a teacher and you observe these changes in a student, you might ask counselors to step in or have parent meetings. Or if it's your child, if you see some changes going on, you don't just chalk it up as, oh, this is teenage behavior, they'll grow out of it. You want to try to seek some type of professional help, because once they get to this point, then we're in the trouble area, okay? Because active shooters just don't wake up one day and just say, hey, I'm going to go out and shoot people. They've gone through a process that has developed over days, weeks, months, years. We don't know. But there have been pre-attack indicators all along the way that we might miss because we're involved in working and and life and those kinds of things, and we just let it go, right? The two Columbine boys, they assemble all of their explosives and their guns and their weapons in the parents' garage. In the parents, they made 99 pipe bombs in the parents' garage. So when do you look at stuff like that and say, this isn't typical teenage behavior? This is not a science project. Sometimes we just miss those signals. Once they get to that point, right, they've done research, they've collected the supplies, then they say, I'm ready to do this. So it's not a sudden incident. This is something that has developed over time. Then the attack takes place. Okay, then we show them, back up a little bit, where is it? Okay, we show them how the incidents have increased over the years. We're now going into, well, in 2018, we are now over 30. You see in year 2000, we start out with one active shooter event that year. We're over in 2018, now we're over 30. And active shooter events are defined as those events that have 4 or more people who die in the incident, right? So that's just the only active shooters now. We're not talking about just regular shootings because that's over 160. But active shooter events, we're now over 30. Okay, now this is the breakdown. This is the worrisome part of it. You see the incidents now, still on the job, going to work is still the most dangerous place. Okay, you can see the education is increasing because of the shootings now that happen in high schools and middle schools and those kinds of things. So it's really, really beginning to expand. Here in faith-based housing, worship, and healthcare still is a fraction, but you can see how it's growing. Right? All right, then we show them how our program, which is a part of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, really coincides with what FBI is doing and NPD are doing, just all based on the same thing. Get out quickly if you can, find some place to hide if it's available to you. But that hiding place has got to be a place you can lock down from the inside, right? And if everything fails and you have no alternative, you want to try to protect yourself. And then we talk about how you do that, and we show the types of trainings that are going on. These are the acknowledgments of the program, right? These are the resources that we tap into, trainings, individuals, and everything to develop our program. And that's it. Are there any questions?
All right.
So we'll put this.
That's very thorough. We want to thank Dr. Mack again, and we certainly depend on referrals for this training. So if there's an organization, make an email introduction. If you can send an email to myself or Willie.McElroy, that's WILLIE.MCELROY @dc.gov. Certainly we will take it from there. Thank you so much, Doc. All right, at this time, I'm going to cue up our next presentation, and it's just a brief overview of our Summer Youth Emergency Preparedness Academy. All right. Excuse me, please give me 1 second.
All right. Good evening. My name is Michael Briscoe. I serve as the emergency preparedness specialist here at Serve DC. I'm going to give you all a brief overview of our Summer Youth Emergency Preparedness Academy that we held this summer from late June to early August. So it's a 6-week program that we have that is designed to expose participants ages 16 to 24 to the fields of public safety and emergency management. If you look at this picture here, this was pretty much our full, or almost our full cohort that we had this year. And these participants are actually part of the Marion Berry's Summer Youth Employment Program. I think we had about 35 or so participants this year. So the first 3 weeks of the program, the participants actually go through their team CERT training, and CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. So that's what we do for the first 3 weeks of the program. As you can see, the requirements for students to actually be a part of our program is, of course, they have to be a district resident, 11th to 12th grade, and we do have some that have actually graduated from high school that are still a part of the Marion Berry Summer Youth Employment Program. This picture here is one of our outstanding youth awardees, Shantae Lucas. I definitely wanted to spotlight Shantae because the recruiting method for students to actually sign up for our program, DOES holds a summer job like recruitment fair in April. And I distinctly remember Shantae, she was steadfast on being with our program. She came to us and she did not visit any other table during the job fair. Our program actually started at 9:30 a.m. Shantae was on site every day at 8 a.m. Every day she got there at 8 a.m. Just an awesome participant to work with. And I think she's actually in the application process for AmeriCorps as well. Our second outstanding youth that we had this year was Mr. Alex Baker. Alex Baker is a student at Woodrow Wilson High School. He's in his senior year, and Alex has expressed interest in actually working with us during his 12th grade year at Wilson. So I'm actually in talks with him now to actually come in on days he's out of school earlier, just to kind of, get him more exposure in the field of emergency management. He's actually looking to study emergency management in college. This here is just talking about, of course, the team train that youth take for the first 3 weeks. They get trained on units such as fire safety, fire suppression. They get disaster medical operations, light search and rescue operations. They actually get their CPR, first aid, AED certification, terrorism awareness, and so forth. The last 3 weeks, 6-week program, the participants, they actually get trained on Commander Ready Train the Trainer. So what they do is during the last 3 weeks of the program, they actually take what they've been taught and they go out to the various rec centers and they teach the Department of Recreation camp kids in different facets of emergency preparedness. So you see this picture here to the left, that student, this was, I want to say, Sherwood Recreation Center, to where the students went out and they actually did a fire safety and fire suppression training at Sherwood. The participants are actually broken up into 6 team leads this year. So the participants were broken up into 6 different groups, and each team lead was responsible for, of course, accompanying their group to each rec center, and that went very, very well this year. We managed to train 640 youth ages 5 to 13 in Commander Ready. This is, of course, the first aid, CPR, AED certification training. Everyone in our program received this training as a part of their participation in our SYPA program. The last thing that our participants did something that is called a public service announcement, so a PSA. So each group actually was tasked with creating a PSA that focused on at least one topic that they were exposed to this year. And students chose topics such as biological terrorism. One group did Stop the Bleed. Another group focused on CPR, and the last group focused on the 8 types of terrorism. And they actually showcased their PSA during the last day of the program, where they showed the parents and guardians the PSA. They received their team certification, as well as their cert book bag as well. So PSAs were very, very awesome, and they're actually posted on YouTube. So if anybody would like, you can feel free to send me an email, and I can actually send you the links for the PSAs as well. In addition to the emergency management that we do in the program, we actually did a career exposure and readiness unit with the group as well. So this picture here details we had actually a Dress for Success day this year, where students actually dressed up, and we had a day where we actually spent time working with students on building their resumes and building their cover letters, because throughout the program, not only do we train them on Team Cert, but we actually took them on various field trips, which included NPD Academy, Fire and EMS Academy, Department of Forensic Sciences, National Guard. Also had guest speakers come in during various points of the summer. So the goal, of course, is for students to actually, become exposed to emergency management, but also maybe translate what they've learned into a possible career of choice. So we did implement this career exposure and readiness component, and a lot of students are still following up with us on providing further assistance with their cover letter, applying for jobs. So I think this was a very, very good thing for the participants that we did this year. So that's just a quick recap of what we did over the summer. I know we're kind of pressed for time, but are there any questions or comments?
Okay, all right. I'd like to note that I got my start with ServDC maybe, I guess about 18 or so years ago in a similar program. It was by ServDC wasn't in its current iteration, but the program, the model was essentially the same, where we learned Team Cert in those elements. So, all these years later, this program does work. So certainly, thank you, Mike. All right. So thank you all for bearing with us. Just one more formal presentation, and then we should be done. So what we're going to do, I wanted to provide an overview of what's really coming up in FY 2019. All right. So I'm sorry, I'm operating 2 different systems. This is GoToMeeting, this is in person. So for that, I'd like to introduce everyone to Isha Foster Lee. If you have not had an opportunity to meet her, Isha is certainly one of our high performing members. And what I want you to do is, if you bear with me for a second, I know you all can see it on GoToMeeting. I'm going to cue it up for our attendees in person. Isha, if you could, as I cue up the presentation, if you can.
Oh, I can start.
Yeah, if you can actually go ahead and just get a jump on it.
Okay. Okay, so good evening. My name is Isha Lee, and I'm going to be speaking to you about our seasons of service days as well as our strategic partnership for FYI 19. Okay, so our seasons of service days, the next one that's coming up will be World AIDS Day, December the 1st, 2018. MLK Day of Service, January the 21st, 2019. Global Youth Service Day, April the 12th, 2019. Nelson Mandela Day of Service, July the 18th, 2019. Our DCPS Beautification Day will be in August of 2019. And our September the 11th Day of Service will be on September the 11th, 2019. I want to speak to you about our Martha's Table Joyful Food Market. ServDC has adopted this market at MLK Elementary School. The infographic shows you the impact in which we made on last year. We sourced 10 monthly volunteers, which clocked 360 community service hours. We serviced 2,135 families, which equated to 1,065 students. And then we gave away 24,000 pounds of groceries. And if you're interested in getting involved in one of our markets, the dates are October the 16th, November the 20th, December the 18th, January the 15th, February the 19th, March the 19th, and April 16th. That is the third Tuesday of every month. And the hours are from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
If I could, this is our office's adopted kind of service project. As you know, at times we're here battling the bureaucracy that is inherent with government, but this is our opportunity to actually get out there and roll our sleeves in the community. So we would love for more of our commissioners to join us.
And thank you, Commissioner Williams, because she has been so faithful to come into our joyful food markets in the summertime as well as during the school year. So I appreciate that from you. Okay, and then also in November, we're partnering with the Office of the Mayor's Office on Veterans Affairs, and our good old faithful, the mission continues. They're a group of veterans that have 5 service platoons here in Washington, D.C. The picture in which you see is our last year Veterans Day event that we had over in Langston Dwellings, and we had a special guest, former President Barack Obama, to come and join us. So this year we're partnering again with the Mission Continues, like I said, and we're going to be in the Clay Terrace neighborhood. This neighborhood is where the young child that was 10 years old that was killed by a drive-by. So we're going to the community to let the community know that we care. We're with them, and we're going to beautify some of the areas of the community by painting and landscaping. We're going to construct some seating and storage in that area. Okay, and then also in November, ServDC always has a part to play with the Safeway Feast for Sharing. Last year, as you can see, those are pictures of some of the young people that we got from the schools to come and volunteer. So each year, more than 1,000 volunteers join Safeway Feast for Sharing and provide delicious traditional Thanksgiving holiday meals to approximately 5,000 DC neighbors in need. We would need volunteers to help serve lunch, as well as staff ServDC's resource table that will be on November the 21st, 2018 from 9 a.m. at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. Okay, as far as one of our seasons of service days, World AIDS Day 2018 is held every year. December the 1st is the date. This year does fall on a Saturday, so we have not decided exactly if we're going to have it on that Friday, November the 30th, or on that Saturday, the 1st. We're partnering with DOH, Department of Health, as well as the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs. Last year, as you see in the picture, we had a special guest, Raheem Devon, who was a Grammy-nominated R&B singer. He came, he supported us, and we had a very good time. And so we're planning on doing something similar this year. And if anyone has any ideas on what can be done with this, we're really looking for more of a service project this year. Last year it was like more of a health fair. So if you have any ideas, we're still open. We're considering right now making care packages for individuals that are living with HIV and AIDS, and then having the various organizations that deal with the population to disseminate those bags to the population. Thank you. And then last year, my staff and my team thought that, wow, what did Isha do now? So on December the 14th, 2018, we're going to have our second annual toy giveaway here, supporting the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots Foundation by Holder Distribution for toys for residents living in wards 1 through 4. And so volunteers will be needed to help distribute toys and crowd control. Last year, we serviced 1,492 families, which equated to 4,500 bags of toys that we had at the Reed Center. It went flawlessly, which I'm so happy to say, because our ServDC team, as well as our volunteers, came together to service this population, and it was a wonderful success. So the Marine Corps asked us to come back and do it again, actually for the whole entire city, for 20,000 children. However, I partnered with various organizations in wards 5, 6, 7, and 8 to do the distribution, and then we will be again just focused on wards 1 through 4. And if anyone is interested, the distributions will start from Friday, December the 7th, and go all the way to December the 19th. So additional distribution locations are listed at our Eventbrite page. And on this last slide is my contact information, ishaf.lee@dc.gov, and my telephone number is 727-7925. That's the main number, because I'm one of those that I sit at my desk probably only about 20% of the week. But you can have my cell phone number is 202-215-1176 if you need to reach me directly. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, I am willing to take them now. If not, Deputy Director Spriggs will be up so that she can get you involved. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Isha. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No question.
Hello, this is Commissioner.
Excellent, thank you.
This is Commissioner Oliver. I would like to reach out to your group. I'm the Executive Director of Damien Ministries. We'd love to help you out with the World AIDS Day. We can do testing on site.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I could not hear you speaking. Can you please repeat yourself?
Yes, this is Commissioner Oliver. I'm the Executive Director of Damien Ministries. I have a group of young people that are doing prevention and navigation for the World AIDS Day. We can probably come out and support you by doing testing on site.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Can you please send me an email so that I can have your contact information and make sure that I list them to be able to come out?
Absolutely.
ishaf.dc.gov.
Okay, no problem. We'll send you something tomorrow.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Were there any other questions or comments? Okay, Deputy Director Spriggs, thank you.
All right, hi everybody, I'm Sarita Spriggs, and I'm going to be talking to you about ways that you can get involved. Next slide, please. All right, so I'll be fast because I know it's time to wrap it up. So what can you do to be engaged with ServDC? One, you can spread the word about who we are and what we do and some of the programs that we have. Sometimes people talk to us, well, what does DC Serve do? They don't know our name and they don't know what we do. And when we begin to share with them all of the things that we do, they're surprised. You as our prized commissioners, we need you to be our voice in the communities, whether that be in your houses of faith or your organizations at work or your community organizations or your sororities or what have you. We need you to start talking more about what we do and tell people how they can get involved. Next, what can you do? You can volunteer. Isha told you about several ways in which you can get involved with Serve DC, whether that be through our Martha's Table or through our Seasons of Service days, or what's your name, Jim? Or Tommy with ECC. They have volunteer opportunities as well. So you can also volunteer not only with Serve DC, but with our sub-grantees as well. Next, how can you, we would love for you to be engaged with our AmeriCorps grants process. So what does that mean? We want you to tell people, young people, about how they can get involved in AmeriCorps, because oftentimes service can turn into great opportunities, great workforce development type things. But here at Serve DC, we run the grants process. So what can you do? You can be involved with our logic models. You can help to come and sit on interviews with potential sub-grantees. And then you can also go on site visits. We visit these people, not these people, but our sub-grantees twice a year for 2 site visits. So you can come along with us to see the work that they're doing in the communities. Next, participate in our trainings. We would love for you to become CERT members and to partake in active shooter training. But we would also like for you to tell people about what we do with our trainings. If you're a part of a faith-based organization or a sorority, and you would like to have your organization train in active shooter or CERT or disaster psychology, let us know. We can help arrange that for you. Lastly, inform us about how we can help you. If you are hosting an event or you need volunteers for an event, that's what we do for the district. So let us know. We can work with Antoine Battle, who spoke earlier about our brand refresh, to get your name added to our newsletter. But we can also help to recruit volunteers for your events if you need us. So on the next slide, please. This is the email of the different areas that I talked about. So if you want to get involved in volunteering, you can contact Isha Lee, who is our Outreach and Special Initiatives Director. You can talk to Michael Briscoe about our emergency preparedness training, or Dr. Willie McElroy. Lastly, if you would like to get your events in our newsletter, you can contact Antoine, who is our communications director in our PIO. The great MLK said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. So commissioners, I need you to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So at this point, the time is now 8 o'clock. We're at 8:02 actually. We're scheduled to go from 6:30 to 8. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for if there are any updates about our commissioners, if they have any upcoming events, anything they just want to share. Okay, great. If no updates, I certainly want to thank everyone. I know that there was a lot of content to kind of churn through, but certainly for the benefit of our new commissioner and also for some of our commissioners that are re-engaging, we wanted you to just have a good sense of what the commission is working on. And this is probably, thankfully, probably just half of what could have been presented. Normally, Pamela would always give her grant updates, but that's something that we just didn't have time for. So with that being said, the time is now 8:02, and again, today is October 9th. This event has been recorded, and this will be posted to our Serve DC website within 24 hours. I'd like to adjourn the meeting at this time. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at delano.hunter@dc.gov. Thank you all so much, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, John Boy.
Nobody had a question. I'm like, no, okay.
Thank you.
Right, take care.
So that's where right now
It is.
How many people
Raining
in
so much,
total?
they kind of.
There were
they have
11 on
to
the
close
call.
out.
There's
So-
28 of y'all.
So,
I believe.
yeah, so.
Yeah, there's 28
Oh,
of
can I
you.
just double check?
28.
The water
Can I just double check the list?
Everybody with the dots was the one who said, now some people may have joined later. Go to the
Yeah,
ones.
I have a roster. I think I had 5 more that joined on the course of the so I'm gonna have to go through and reconcile. I have to go in the system from my.
You should be able to see it.
For some reason, I can't see it on my laptop. I have it on my desktop. It's actually.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
My computer
Yeah.
is not.
Well, so you just have a normal, we have a